Hey everyone! A few weeks ago, my husband and I were watching the F1 series Drive to Survive on Netflix. And although I'm a Mercedes fan, I have a lot of admiration for Max Verstappen. Now, obviously for his skills, but even more so for his ability to perform under pressure and less than ideal circumstances. In one of the episodes, they spoke about this topic with him, and he said something along the lines of, pressure doesn't really bother me because I don't even think about losing. I just think about everything I can do to win. Now, the reason that kind of hit me smack bang in the face is because my default is usually the opposite. I plan for the worst case scenario and spend more mental energy on convincing myself that it will be okay if it doesn't work out than fully focusing on what I need to do to win or succeed. Which essentially means I'm focusing more on what I don't want. And that made me wonder how my life would be different if I started living from that mindset only, the mindset of winning. And in how many areas and things that I've done in the past could I have done better a lot faster if I focused on that side of the coin only. Which, of course, brought me to an even bigger question. You see, Netflix promotes profound thinking. I wasn't paid to say that. And the question was, what if this applied to all emotions? What if negative emotions aren't really bad, we were just never taught how to use them to our advantage? And I think we often don't even know or believe that there is that choice. So let's take, for example, the emotion of anger. When I get angry, I might choose to throw something across the room, which I'm ashamed to admit might have happened a few times with my hairbrush on bad hair days. So that is one choice. Or I could channel that emotion into something constructive. For example, when I'm angry, I clean my house spotless within 2 hours, or I run a lot faster and longer, or I often get things done that I have been procrastinating on forever, and in that moment I'm just so over it and I just want to get it the hell out of my life that I just get it done. So when used right, anger can be a very powerful tool that can energize us and strengthen us and make us really productive. Anger only becomes a problem when we surrender our control to it and let it rule our actions. Let's take another emotion like sadness. So, which songs do we often connect with most? And although I'm not really great at poems, but for those of you who are, which ones often hit the deepest? Which stories make us open our hearts and connect deeply with others? It's the sad ones, right? Sadness can either drag us into a hole of darkness, or it can help us access deeper levels of ourselves that bring authenticity and connection to what we create. We can use it in a way to let others know, hey, I get it, you're not alone in this. I actually believe that it can make us better and more compassionate friends and community members. Now, of course, there is a dangerous line between using it as a way to connect and letting it become your identity and only source of unhealthy connection. But that is beyond the scope of this episode. The point is, when used constructively, sadness can serve a meaningful and profound purpose. Let's look at another big one, fear. Fear is a great opportunity to build confidence and trust in ourselves. When we step just outside of our comfort zone, we teach our subconscious that we are actually capable of handling unknown situations and that we are stronger than we give ourselves credit for. And the more we face it, the more tolerant we become to challenges and the more we can achieve because we learn that we can handle bigger projects. I mean, how many times have you said or heard someone else say, after that experience, everything else in my life feels like a walk in the park? Now, of course, fear serves a very basic and obvious function to protect us from danger. But Often our fear is connected to lack of confidence, and when that kind of fear comes up, it is our opportunity to grab it and grow. So the question is, can we really train ourselves to use our emotions constructively instead of being ruled by them? Are we just a product of our genes? Is what we experience just who we are? Well, in my own experience, we can learn to use them productively. I have seen in my own life that I can use anger to drive progress, and that I can use sadness to access depths of my soul that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to access. And I have created profound things from that place. Or at the very least, it has given me experiences that I can then use to understand others better. I have used fear many times to build my confidence, and high pressure situations to train my focus and logical thinking. Evolutionary psychologists have been studying emotions for decades, and what they've consistently found is that emotions are not random. They're not glitches in our system, and they're certainly not signs that something is wrong with us. They are specialized states that were specifically designed to help us respond to threats and opportunities in our surroundings. And every single emotion you experience has a function, because at some point in human history, it helped us survive. So anger mobilized energy and strength when we needed to fight. Sadness slowed us down so we could process loss and find our footing again. Fear kept us alive when something dangerous was near, and pressure sharpened our focus when the stakes were really high. Now, these weren't problems to be managed, they were tools to be used, and that distinction matters more than I think most of us realize. And then there's the layer to this that I find most exciting. The brain is neuroplastic, which means that the brain can physically rewire itself based on what you repeatedly do and think and practice. So the pathways you use most become stronger, and the ones you stop using gradually weaken, like a physical muscle, right? Which means the way you currently respond to your emotions, whether that is shutting down or lashing out or spiraling into worst case thinking, that's not just who you are. That's a pattern that was built. At some point we learned all these emotional responses, right? From how we were raised, from what was modeled for us, from what we were told was acceptable to feel and what wasn't. And the really hopeful thing about all of that is that what can be learned can be unlearned, and what was never taught can finally be taught. Woohoo! This concept can also be tied in with the ancient philosophy of Stoicism. So it's about focusing on how you choose to respond to a situation, as opposed to focusing on the fact that it is unfair that the situation occurred in the first place. And the same with our emotions. We can't always choose how we feel. We can't always stop anger or sadness or fear from arriving. And trying to is often what causes more problems than the emotion itself. But we can, with practice, learn to choose what we do with it once it's there. And I think that's the part that most of us were never taught, not at school, not necessarily at home, not anywhere I can think of really. We just learned which emotions were acceptable and which ones weren't. We learned to perform the right ones and suppress the rest. But we were never really taught that they all have a function, that they're all information, and that in the right hands they are all useful. So let's make this our challenge. Instead of just submitting to an emotion, let's immediately ask ourselves, how can I use this emotion in a way that is useful to me and others? And I know when our minds aren't trained, it can be hard to catch ourselves in the moment before responding. But if we fail to respond right in the moment, all we have to do then is to train our minds in hindsight. So you ask yourself after the fact, if this situation occurs again, how will I respond next time? The thought of being in full control of myself is something that really excites me, and I hope that you will join me on this journey. Okay, Well, that's it from me for today. Thanks for hanging out with me again. May you have a beautiful rest of your day or evening, and always remember to stay powered by progress. I'll catch you again in the next one. Bye.